We are constantly pressured to trade pieces of ourselves for approval and comfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. But what is your true worth if you compromise your core? This video reveals 24 non-negotiable markers of self-respect, drawn directly from Stoic philosophy, that build an unshakable inner citadel. By the end, you will possess a complete framework for living a life of integrity and profound inner peace. What does it truly mean to respect yourself in a world that asks you to bend? A Stoic's self-respect begins with an unwavering trust in their own faculty of reason. This is the very first and most critical marker, the bedrock upon which all others are built, and it is called honoring your inner judge. This is your inner guide, what the Stoics called your daemon, that quiet but firm voice of your highest self. To compromise this is to hand your moral compass to the chaotic winds of other people's opinions, leaving you lost and adrift. The Stoic teacher Epictetus put it with his typical directness when he said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" His point was profound. You are the sole guardian of your own character and judgments. The opinions of others are based on their own flawed perceptions and biases, and giving them power over your inner world is the ultimate act of self-betrayal. Imagine you are in a meeting at work, and the group is moving toward a decision you know, in your gut, is ethically questionable or simply wrong for the project. The pressure to conform is immense, a silent demand to nod along and be a team player. In that moment, honoring your inner judge means finding the courage to voice your reasoned objection, to stand by your assessment even if it makes you temporarily unpopular. Or consider a relationship where a partner consistently asks you to compromise a core value, to act in a way that feels foreign to who you are. The easy path is to silence that internal alarm for the sake of peace, but the cost is a piece of your self-respect. Think back to a recent time you ignored that inner whisper. Can you recall the hollow feeling that followed, that subtle sense of having abandoned yourself? That feeling is your soul's protest, a signal that you have compromised the one thing you were never meant to trade. Character is what you do in the dark, when the spotlight of public opinion has been turned off and you are left alone with your choices. This is the second marker of self-respect, maintaining personal integrity, and it demands that your actions align with your core values even when there is no audience to applaud or condemn you. For the Stoics, this was the very essence of the virtue of justice, but directed inward. It is justice you owe to yourself, a promise to ensure your thoughts, your words, and your deeds are all in perfect harmony. When they are not, you create a fracture within your own soul. The Roman philosopher Seneca captured this with piercing clarity when he wrote that a person's worth is measured by what they do when they are entirely alone. Your true character is not forged on a public stage, but in the quiet, unseen moments where temptation whispers and convenience beckons. Think of the simple, everyday test of a cashier handing you back too much change. The easy, unnoticed path is to pocket the extra money and walk away, but the person of integrity, the one who respects themselves, will correct the error. There is no external reward for this action, no medal for honesty. The reward is internal, the quiet affirmation that you are the kind of person who does the right thing simply because it is right. Or consider the modern workplace where gossip flows freely in break rooms and digital chats. Refusing to participate, choosing instead to remain silent or to gently redirect the conversation, is an act of integrity. No one may ever know you made that choice, but you will know. That private knowledge is the bedrock of your self-regard. It is the cumulative weight of these small, consistent decisions that builds an unshakable foundation. So ask yourself this pivotal question and be brutally honest with the answer. What is one core value you hold so sacred that you would never compromise it? Not for a significant financial reward, not for social acceptance, not even for a moment of weakness when you are certain no one would ever find out. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep others out, but the quiet, unwavering respect you command for your own soul. This third marker of self-respect, setting firm boundaries, is your active declaration of what you will and will not allow into your inner world. For a Stoic, this is the direct, practical application of the dichotomy of control. You are drawing a clear line around what is truly yours to protect: your time, your energy, and your peace of mind, while letting external demands and the chaos of others remain outside your sphere. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus offered profound guidance on this, advising that we must carefully choose our associations, for we inevitably become like the company we keep. This is not about arrogance, but about the sober recognition that your character is your most precious possession, and it must be guarded from those who would carelessly devalue it. Consider the challenge of a friend or family member who consistently makes demands on your time without regard for your own priorities. They call late at night with a crisis of their own making, or they expect you to drop everything to solve their problems. Saying no in these moments can feel like a betrayal, and guilt immediately rushes in to fill the space. But a firm boundary, communicated with calm clarity, is not an act of rejection. It is an act of self-preservation. You are not saying, "I do not care about you." You are saying, "I also care about my own well-being, and I must honor my limits." Every time you uphold that boundary, you send a powerful message to your own psyche that your peace is non-negotiable. The reward is not their changed behavior, but the profound internal peace you gain from knowing you have protected what is yours. Think of one area in your own life, perhaps a draining social obligation, a work demand that bleeds into personal time, or a relationship that feels more like an extraction than a connection. Where would a single, firm boundary held without apology create a dramatic increase in your peace of mind? A self-respecting Stoic does not make room in their life for those who show them contempt. This fourth marker, refusing to tolerate disrespect, is a powerful and active choice. It is the decision to no longer subject yourself to verbal, emotional, or psychological abuse from anyone. While Stoicism teaches us not to be harmed by the insults of others, a crucial distinction is often missed. Not being harmed does not mean you must stand there and endure the onslaught. The philosophy empowers you to walk away. Marcus Aurelius offered this profound insight in his private writings, reminding himself that you can choose not to be harmed by an insult, and you will not be harmed, feeling yourself not to be harmed. The insult itself is nothing but a sound, an opinion. The harm only occurs if you grant it a home within your mind, and just as importantly, if you remain in its presence. To tolerate consistent disrespect is to willingly subject your soul to a corrosive environment, and that is a compromise of self-respect no Stoic can make. Imagine a colleague who consistently dismisses your ideas with a sarcastic remark, or a family member who uses guilt as a weapon to get their way. The disrespect is not in their words alone, but in your passive acceptance of them. The Stoic response is not a fiery confrontation, but a calm, definitive action. It is the act of ending the conversation, of physically leaving the room, or of clearly and quietly stating that you will not engage on those terms. This is not an emotional reaction, it is a principled withdrawal. You are not trying to control their behavior, you are controlling your own exposure to it. You are placing a boundary around your peace and declaring it inviolable. Think of a relationship where you find yourself constantly defending your character, your choices, or your worth. Every time you allow that dynamic to continue, you are silently agreeing that your value is up for debate. To refuse to tolerate it is to end the debate entirely. It is to say, without a single raised voice, that your self-worth is not a topic for discussion. So I ask you to look at the landscape of your own life with ruthless honesty. Is there one relationship, perhaps with a friend, a partner, or even a boss, where you are tolerating a pattern of behavior that you know, deep down, you should not? What small, firm action could you take today to reclaim that piece of your self-respect? The path to unshakable self-respect is paved with the stones of absolute ownership. This fifth marker, taking full responsibility for your actions, is the ultimate expression of Stoic power. It is the conscious decision to own every choice you make, every mistake you commit, and every consequence that follows, without ever shifting the blame onto circumstances or other people. This is the very heart of Stoic accountability, recognizing that our judgments and the actions that spring from them are the only things truly within our control. The philosopher Epictetus put it with unflinching clarity when he stated that the blame lies with the one who chose the action, never with the one who provided the occasion for it. You are the sole author of your responses to the world, and to deny this is to surrender your own agency. Picture a project manager who has just realized a critical error in their team's report, an error that has already been sent to a major client. The immediate, gut-level reaction might be to find a scapegoat, to cite a team member's incomplete data or an unreasonable deadline. The manager who respects themselves, however, will take a different path. They will call the client, admit the mistake without caveats, and present a clear, actionable plan to rectify it. This is not an act of self-punishment, but one of profound self-command. By owning the error completely, they transform a moment of potential shame into a demonstration of unwavering integrity. They control the narrative by refusing to hide from the truth. This principle applies just as powerfully in our personal lives. Think of a moment you spoke harshly to a loved one. The easy excuse is to say they provoked you, that your reaction was justified by their behavior. But true responsibility means looking inward and acknowledging that your words were your choice, your tone was your decision. The other person's actions belonged to them, but your response belonged entirely to you. So I want you to pause and bring to mind a recent misstep of your own, perhaps a forgotten commitment or a poorly executed task. Now replay that event in your mind, but this time remove every excuse. Strip away the external factors and see only your own role in what happened. How does that raw, unfiltered ownership change the feeling of the memory? Does it not shift the energy from one of helpless frustration to one of focused, empowered clarity? This is the alchemy of responsibility, turning the lead of error into the gold of self-respect. Your capacity to serve others begins with the vessel you inhabit. You cannot fulfill your duties with a mind clouded by exhaustion or a body weakened by neglect. This sixth marker of self-respect, prioritizing your well-being, is a fundamental Stoic duty, a prerequisite for living a life of virtue. The Stoics envisioned the ideal of a sound mind in a sound body, not as a luxury for the privileged, but as the essential foundation upon which all other moral actions are built. Seneca wrote extensively on this, advising in one of his letters that we must take a relaxed attitude toward our bodies, but ensure it is adequate for good health. His point was not to indulge every whim, but to provide the body with what it genuinely needs to function optimally, so that the mind within it can remain clear and focused on what is right. To treat your own health as an afterthought is to disrespect the very instrument through which you practice wisdom and justice. Think about the modern temptation to sacrifice sleep for more work, or to skip a meal because you are too busy. You might tell yourself you are being productive, that you are pushing through for a greater cause, but from a Stoic perspective, this is a profound error. You are depleting the resources required for rational judgment and moral action. You are, in effect, trying to draw water from an empty well. When you are sleep-deprived and running on poor nutrition, your ability to handle stress with equanimity collapses. Your patience shortens, your irritability rises, and you become far more likely to act in ways you will later regret, compromising your integrity and your relationships. Prioritizing your well-being is the ultimate act of stewardship over your most important tool. It means choosing the nourishing meal over the convenient junk, the full night of rest over one more hour of screen time, the morning walk over the snooze button. These are not acts of self-indulgence, they are quiet, daily declarations that this vessel matters. So I want you to take a quiet inventory of your own life right now. What is one small, consistent habit, perhaps related to your sleep, your nutrition, or your movement, that you could change starting tomorrow to better honor this fundamental duty to yourself? Silence in the face of a falsehood feels like a safe harbor, but it is a slow leak in the ship of your self-respect. This seventh marker, speaking your truth with courage, demands that you give voice to your reasoned convictions, especially when the room is shouting the opposite. For the Stoics, this was the very embodiment of the virtue of courage, applied not to the battlefield, but to the arena of daily conversation and debate. It is the bravery to stand by the conclusions your own faculty of reason has reached, knowing that social disapproval is a far lighter burden than the weight of your own complicity. The Roman statesman Cato the Younger was legendary for this, a man whose unwavering adherence to principle was so absolute that his political enemies could find no corruption in him. He understood that to remain silent when you know the truth is to betray the truth itself, and in doing so, you betray the rational being you are meant to be. Imagine once more that meeting where a plan is gaining momentum, a plan you have rationally assessed as deeply flawed. The pressure to nod along is a physical force, a desire to avoid the awkwardness of dissent. Speaking your truth in that moment does not mean launching a passionate, emotional attack. It looks like calmly stating, I see the appeal of this direction, but I have a significant concern based on the data, and I believe we need to consider another path. You are not attacking people, you are upholding a principle of sound judgment. You are placing your respect for the truth above your desire for social comfort. Or consider a family gathering where a harmful stereotype is casually repeated. Staying silent is the easy path, a way to keep the peace. But the courageous path, the path of self-respect, is to offer a gentle but firm correction. You might say, I have a different perspective on that, and here is why. The reaction may not be positive, but your integrity remains intact. Your action affirms that your mind is not a place where falsehoods go unchallenged. Now bring to mind a moment from your own past, a time you bit your tongue when everything inside you was screaming to speak. Perhaps it was to correct a lie, to defend an idea you believed in, or simply to state a need you were afraid to voice. Revisit that memory. If you could step back into that scene with the resolve you have today, what are the words you would finally say? That unspoken sentence holds a piece of your power. If all social media and praise vanished tomorrow, would you still know your own worth? This eighth marker of self-respect, not chasing external validation, forces you to find the answer within. A Stoic builds their self-esteem on the unshakable ground of their own character and actions, never on the shifting sands of likes, promotions, or public acclaim. The Stoics classified these things as preferred indifference, meaning they can be nice to have, but they are utterly irrelevant to your true worth and your capacity to live a virtuous life. They are merely decorations on the house, while your character is the foundation. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this in his private meditations, writing that the applause of the crowd is just a clashing of voices and fame is ultimately meaningless. He knew that a life spent chasing the approval of others is a life spent running on a treadmill, exhausting yourself but never actually arriving anywhere. Real fulfillment comes from the quiet certainty that you acted with integrity, whether anyone was watching or not. Think about the last time you finished a significant project. Perhaps you spent months writing a report, building a piece of furniture, or mastering a difficult skill. The moment you put down the final piece, there is a profound, intrinsic satisfaction that comes purely from the completion, from the knowledge of your own effort and discipline. That feeling is your true reward. The external praise that may or may not follow is just an echo. Chasing the echo instead of honoring the initial accomplishment is what depletes your self-respect. Every time you refresh a screen hoping for more likes, or you subtly alter your personality to win someone's approval, you are quietly outsourcing your self-worth. You are handing a stranger the keys to your inner citadel and asking them to tell you if it is beautiful. This is why the practice is so vital. I want you to take a moment for a truly revealing exercise. In your own mind, list 3 things you are genuinely proud of that no one else, or almost no one, knows about. It could be a private act of kindness you performed without expectation of thanks, a personal goal you finally reached after months of struggle, or a harmful habit you quietly overcame. Hold those 3 things in your mind, feel the weight of them. That feeling, that solid, unshowable pride, is the currency of your authentic self-respect. It is a treasure that no algorithm can delete and no critic can ever take from you. Time is the one currency you can spend but never earn back. This 9th marker, protecting your time, is a sacred duty in Stoicism, a direct application of remembering your own mortality. The Stoics practiced memento mori not to dwell on death, but to illuminate the breathtaking value of life, and life is measured in moments. Your time is the raw material of your existence, the only resource you can use to practice virtue, pursue wisdom, and fulfill your duties. To squander it is to squander your very life. Seneca, in his piercing essay on the shortness of life, observed that people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. He was describing a profound madness where we carefully count our coins but thoughtlessly pour our days into bottomless pits of distraction and trivial pursuits. The person who respects themselves understands that every minute is a non-renewable fragment of their potential, and they guard it with the vigilance of a sentry at a fortress gate. This begins with a ruthless audit of your own life. For 1 week, keep a simple log of how you spend your waking hours. How much is dedicated to passive consumption, to scrolling through feeds that leave you empty, to conversations that go in circles, to tasks that do not serve your core values or duties. The results are often a shocking revelation. Protecting your time then means making conscious, often difficult, cuts. It means declining the invitation to the gathering you feel obligated to attend but do not truly want. It means turning off non-essential notifications that fracture your focus into 1,000 tiny pieces. It means ending the conversation with the friend who only ever complains without seeking solutions. This is not selfishness, it is stewardship. You are curating the contents of your life to ensure they align with what you deem meaningful. So I want you to sit with this stark and clarifying question. If you were told with absolute certainty that today was the last day of your life, what would you do? Who would you call? What words would you say? which long postponed act of kindness or courage would you finally perform? Now hold that vision in your mind and compare it to the actual plan scribbled in your calendar for today. The gap between those two visions is the precise measure of where you are leaking your most precious resource. Closing that gap, even by a fraction, is a monumental act of self-respect. A fortress does not beg for supplies from the very army besieging its walls. This 10th marker, cultivating self-reliance, is the Stoic practice of building such an inner stronghold, one capable of withstanding the inevitable sieges of fortune. It is the conscious development of your own capacity to handle life's fundamental challenges without collapsing into dependence on others. The goal is not a cold, isolated existence, but the profound inner stability that comes from knowing you possess the resources to meet whatever comes. You build a deep well within yourself so that when external streams dry up, you do not perish from thirst. The Stoic teacher Epictetus laid the foundation for this when he instructed his students to never depend on the admiration of others, for your strength must reside in your own character. Your peace must be drawn from your own reasoned judgments, not from the unreliable promises of the outside world. Consider the simple, almost forgotten art of cooking a nutritious meal for yourself. In a world of instant delivery, this can feel unnecessary. Why learn to chop and sauté when a hot meal is just a few taps away? But the person cultivating self-reliance sees a deeper value. They understand that the act of feeding yourself, of transforming raw ingredients into sustenance, is a quiet declaration of independence. It is a small but significant reclaiming of control over your own well-being. The same principle applies to learning a basic home repair, like fixing a leaky faucet or patching a hole in the drywall. Your first instinct might be to call a professional, and sometimes that is the wisest course. But the act of trying, of consulting a guide, of getting your hands dirty and solving the problem yourself, forges a unique kind of confidence. It whispers to your psyche that you are capable, that you are a problem solver, not just a problem reporter. This mindset then ripples outward into every domain of your life. It transforms how you approach a difficult work assignment, not with a frantic search for someone to delegate it to, but with a calm resolve to break it down and tackle it piece by piece. It changes how you handle emotional distress, not by immediately dumping your anxiety onto a friend, but by first sitting with it, examining it with your own reason, and finding your own footing before seeking support. True self-reliance is the balance between knowing when to stand on your own and when to accept a helping hand, but ensuring you are always the one who chooses. So take a moment to look inward. Where have you allowed a comfortable dependence to create a hidden vulnerability? Is it in your finances, where one unexpected bill would send you scrambling? Is it in your emotional world, where you require constant reassurance to feel secure? Identify that single area. Now, what is one small, definitive step you could take this week to begin reclaiming your sovereignty in that domain? Perhaps it is setting up an automatic transfer to a savings account, or spending 15 minutes with a tutorial for that basic repair you have been avoiding. That one step is a stone laid in the wall of your inner fortress, making it that much stronger for the sieges to come. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. This Stoic maxim is the foundation of the 11th marker of self-respect, choosing your battles wisely. It is the art of strategic engagement, of conserving your finite energy and attention for the conflicts that truly matter, while letting the trivial and the uncontrollable pass by without a fight. This is not passive surrender, but a profound application of the dichotomy of control. You are actively deciding where to plant your flag, ensuring it is on ground you can actually defend. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself on this very point, writing that many of the anxieties that trouble you are superfluous. and you can rid yourself of them by expanding into a freer region, by letting your mind look at the whole of things. He was reminding himself that most of what we fret over and argue about is simply not worth the peace of our soul we trade for it. Imagine the sting of a rude or dismissive comment from a stranger on a social media post. Your fingers itch to type a fiery rebuttal to prove them wrong and defend your honor. The battle feels immediate and personal, but a Stoic who chooses their battles wisely pauses. They ask a simple, clarifying question. Is this person's opinion within my control? The answer is a resounding no. Engaging is like shouting at a storm cloud. It expends your energy but changes nothing about the weather. Letting it go, on the other hand, is an act of immense power. It preserves your peace and denies the insult any home in your mind. Now, contrast that with a serious breach of trust in a close friendship. A confidence is broken or a promise is shattered. This is not a trivial matter. This battle is worth your energy because it involves a core value, the integrity of a relationship you deeply care about. Addressing it calmly and directly, not to punish but to understand and seek resolution, is a necessary use of your inner resources. It is the difference between defending the outer walls of your citadel from a thrown pebble and reinforcing the main gate against a genuine threat. So I want you to take a quiet moment for a revealing exercise. Mentally list 3 battles you are currently fighting. Perhaps it is a lingering resentment toward a coworker, a simmering argument with a family member, or a constant frustration with traffic or long lines. Now hold each one up to the light of this simple question. Is this conflict over something within my control, and is the outcome truly worth the peace I am sacrificing for it? Be brutally honest. You may find that 2 of those 3 battles are nothing more than phantoms, draining your spirit for a cause that was never yours to win. Letting them go is not a defeat, it is a strategic victory for your own soul. To hold a grudge against yourself is to disrespect the person you are trying to become. This 12th marker, forgiving yourself, is the essential act of releasing the chains of self-condemnation. The Stoic path is one of progress, not perfection, and to endlessly punish yourself for a past misstep is to ignore the very purpose of that error, which is to teach you. Seneca offered profound wisdom on this, writing in one of his letters that we should look upon ourselves with the same kindness we extend to a friend who has stumbled. You would not relentlessly berate a friend for a single mistake. You would help them up, dust them off, and encourage them to learn from it. To deny yourself that same compassion is a deep and irrational form of self-disrespect. The process is a deliberate one, a ritual of self-liberation. It begins with a clear-eyed acknowledgement of the mistake, looking at it directly without flinching. You state plainly what happened and what your role was. Then you extract the lesson with surgical precision. What did this experience reveal about a blind spot in your judgment, a value you neglected, or a skill you need to develop? The error is now transformed from a weapon of self-attack into a tool for growth. Finally, and this is the most critical step, you must consciously choose to let the guilt go. You speak to yourself either aloud or in the quiet of your mind, and you grant a pardon. You say, I see the lesson I have learned. I release this burden now. Holding onto it serves no rational purpose. It only weakens the person who must face the future. Think of a time you spoke harshly in anger, causing pain to someone you love. The guilt can become a heavy cloak you wear every day, but carrying that weight does not undo the hurt. It only ensures you are too burdened to become the more patient, more mindful person you wish to be. Forgiving yourself is the act of taking off that cloak, not to forget the lesson of patience, but to finally be light enough to practice it. So I want you to do this now. Bring to mind one thing, one specific regret or failure that you have been carrying. Write it down on a piece of paper, not to give it more power, but to get it out of your head and onto something you can control. Look at the words, acknowledge the lesson they contain. Then, as a final act of self-respect, destroy that paper, tear it up, burn it safely, or let it flutter away in a stream. This is not just symbolism, it is a physical declaration to your own soul that the past is done, the lesson is learned, and you are now free to move forward, unburdened and whole. Accepting unfairness is a silent agreement to your own devaluation. This 13th marker, demanding fair treatment, is your active refusal to be a party to that agreement. It is the direct application of the Stoic virtue of justice turned inward. You have a fundamental duty to yourself to not willingly participate in your own mistreatment, to insist on the basic fairness and dignity that is the birthright of every rational being. The philosopher Epictetus framed this with startling force, teaching that it is a failure to not demand what is rightfully yours, for you then become complicit in the injustice done to you. This is not about entitlement or a sense of victimhood. It is about the sober recognition that to accept what is unjust is to disrespect the worth of your own soul. Imagine you discover that a colleague with a similar role and experience is being paid significantly more than you for the same work. The easy, fearful path is to swallow the resentment and say nothing, to convince yourself that you should just be grateful to have a job at all. But the self-respecting path, the Stoic path, is to prepare calmly and then request a meeting. You present the facts of your contributions and the market data, and you state clearly, with neither aggression nor apology, that you believe this discrepancy is unfair and you would like to discuss aligning your compensation with the value you provide. You are not making an emotional plea, you are upholding a principle of justice. You are demanding fair treatment not as a favor, but as what is rightfully due to a person of your character and effort. Or consider a family dynamic where one sibling is consistently burdened with all the responsibilities for an aging parent, while others offer only empty promises. To continue silently bearing the entire load is to accept an unfair arrangement that drains your spirit and resources. Demanding fair treatment in this case means calling a family meeting and stating the plain truth. It means saying, this current situation is not equitable, and for my own well-being and for the good of our parent, we need to create a shared plan that reflects our collective duty. The reaction may be defensive or angry, but your action stands as a testament to your self-respect. You have drawn a line in the sand, declaring that your time and your peace are worthy of fair consideration. So I want you to look inward with absolute honesty. Where in your life are you currently accepting less than you deserve? Is it in a relationship where the emotional labor is never reciprocated? Is it at a workplace where your ideas are routinely overlooked? Pinpoint that one area. Now ask yourself the more difficult question, why? Is it a fear of conflict, a belief that you are not truly worthy, or a simple exhaustion from the fight? That silent why holds the key to your liberation, and answering it is the first step toward demanding the fairness you have always deserved. Every promise you break carves a hairline crack in the foundation of your self-respect. This 14th marker, keeping your word, is the daily practice of making your spoken commitment your unbreakable bond. For the Stoic, this is not merely about social etiquette, it is the very essence of personal integrity and consistency. Your character is not defined by your grandest intentions, but by the reliability of your smallest actions. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus spoke directly to this, teaching that we must strive to be the same person in both word and deed. When your actions consistently align with your promises, you build a reputation with yourself. You become someone you can trust. The person who constantly makes excuses for why they did not follow through is, in a very real sense, lying to themselves first and foremost. They are creating a persona that speaks of commitment, but a life that demonstrates indifference. Think of the simplest, most common agreement: showing up on time for a coffee meeting with a friend. It seems trivial, but it is a microcosm of your entire ethical framework. When you set that time, you gave your word. Hitting the snooze button and arriving 10 minutes late with a casual apology is a small act of self-betrayal. You have just demonstrated to your own psyche that your comfort in that moment was more valuable than your promise. Conversely, the act of being precisely on time, or even a few minutes early, is a quiet but powerful ritual. It whispers to your soul that your word is a concrete thing, something you honor without negotiation. Now, elevate that example to a more significant promise, like completing a task you promised a colleague you would have done by Friday, or finally starting that exercise routine you committed to for your own health. Every time you follow through, especially when it is difficult or inconvenient, you deposit a stone of trust into the bank of your self-regard. Every time you let it slide, you make a withdrawal. The balance of that internal account is your authentic self-worth. So I want you to bring one specific promise to the front of your mind, one you have been putting off. It might be a phone call you need to make, a project you told yourself you would start, or a commitment to a family member that remains unfulfilled. Do not let it linger in the vague territory of someday. This week, transform that single promise from a spoken intention into a tangible action. Schedule it, set a reminder, do the thing. The external result is almost secondary. The true victory is the internal reinforcement that when you give your word to yourself or to another, you are a force that can be counted on. Your words are a reflection of your soul's condition. This 15th marker of self-respect, refusing to engage in gossip or slander, is a direct choice to wield your speech as a tool for virtue, not for vice. The Stoics understood that our character is expressed not only in our actions, but in the very words we choose to release into the world. When you speak ill of someone who is not present, you are not harming them. You are actively degrading your own integrity and polluting your own mind. You are focusing your precious attention on the faults of others, a territory firmly outside your control, while neglecting the one garden you are meant to tend, your own character. Epictetus offered a razor-sharp principle for this, instructing that you should be too busy improving yourself to have the time to criticize others. He saw gossip as the lazy man's substitute for self-examination, a way to feel superior without doing any of the difficult work required to actually become better. It is an attempt to build yourself up by tearing another down, and the foundation it creates is pure illusion. Imagine you are standing with a group of co-workers in the break room. The conversation turns to a colleague who is not there, and someone begins to dissect a recent mistake they made, adding a layer of speculation about their motives. The social pull to join in is powerful, a chance to bond over a shared judgment. The self-respecting Stoic, however, recognizes this for what it is, a trap. Your response in that moment is a profound test. It could be as simple as taking a sip of your coffee and saying nothing, allowing an awkward silence to fall. It could be gently steering the conversation toward the project itself rather than the person, or stating plainly, "I am not comfortable discussing someone who is not here to speak for themselves." This action requires courage, for it risks temporary social alienation, but it pays a massive dividend in self-regard. You walk away from that conversation with your hands clean and your inner citadel undamaged. For just one day, I want you to become a silent auditor of your own speech. Carry a small mental notepad and mark down every time you are tempted to share a critical story about someone who is absent, or every time you lean in to listen to such a story with eager interest. Do not judge yourself for the impulse, simply observe its frequency. That raw data will reveal the exact battleground where you can reclaim a piece of your soul, simply by choosing silence or a redirecting word. An unexamined life is not worth living, and an unimproved life is a wasted one. This Stoic conviction fuels the 16th marker of self-respect, a relentless commitment to continuously learning and growing. You are treating your own mind not as a finished product, but as a living garden that requires constant tending. For the Stoics, this is a fundamental duty, a way of honoring the divine spark of reason within you by ensuring it burns ever brighter. Seneca captured this duty with beautiful urgency, writing that as long as you live, keep learning how to live. He saw ignorance not as a permanent state, but as a temporary condition to be remedied through diligent study and reflection. To stand still, to believe you have all the answers, is to disrespect your own vast potential. It is to let the garden of your mind become overgrown with the weeds of outdated beliefs and untested assumptions. This practice takes on tangible form in your daily life. It is the deliberate habit of reading philosophy for 15 minutes each morning, not as an academic exercise, but as a direct conversation with the greatest minds in history about how to live. It is the conscious decision to learn a practical new skill, like a language or a craft, which forces your brain to form new neural pathways and reminds you that you are capable of transformation at any age. It is the courage to seek out conversations with people who hold viewpoints opposite to your own, not to win an argument, but to test the strength of your own convictions and to find the truth that may be hidden between your perspective and theirs. Every book you finish, every new skill you attempt, every challenging idea you entertain is a brick laid in the foundation of your self-respect. It is a message to your deepest self that you are worth the investment, that your growth is a non-negotiable priority. So I ask you to look at the landscape of your own mind with a gardener's eye. What is one new thing you will commit to learning this month? One skill that calls to you, or one subject that has always intrigued you? Or perhaps more courageously, what is one old belief, one assumption you have carried for years without question, that you are finally willing to challenge and re-examine under the clear light of reason? Are you living up to the best version of yourself, or have you made peace with a lesser one? This 17th marker of self-respect, refusing to settle for less than you are capable of, is a direct challenge to the comfortable allure of mediocrity. Stoicism teaches that we have a sacred duty to use our innate talents and our faculty of reason to their absolute fullest, for this is the very purpose of our nature as rational beings. To do otherwise is to disrespect the potential that the universe itself has placed within you. Marcus Aurelius framed this not as a burden, but as a calling, writing in his Meditations that you were made for work, for action, not for idle leisure and pointless anxiety. He saw our capacity for meaningful effort as a fundamental part of our design, and to let it lie dormant is to live contrary to our own essence. This is not about a frantic, external hustle for more money or status, which are merely preferred indifference. It is about an internal drive to ensure your inner resources, your wisdom, your courage, your capacity for justice, are expressed at their highest possible level in the world. Consider the professional who has grown comfortable in a role that no longer challenges them. The work is easy, the paycheck is steady, but a quiet voice inside whispers that they are capable of so much more. The self-respecting path is to actively seek out that challenge, to apply for the demanding promotion that stretches your skills, or to propose a new initiative that leverages your unique insights. The fear of failure is a powerful deterrent, but the certainty of future regret for never having tried is a far heavier weight to carry. Or think of the personal project you have been dreaming about for years, perhaps writing a book, learning an instrument, or building something with your own hands. Continually postponing it, telling yourself you will start when you have more time or more confidence, is a form of settling. It is a silent agreement with fear. Taking the first concrete step today, even if it is just outlining a single chapter or practicing for 10 minutes, is a declaration that your potential matters more than your comfort. So I want you to pause and bring one key area of your own life into sharp focus, whether it is your career, your physical health, a relationship, or a creative pursuit. Now define with absolute clarity what your best would genuinely look like in that single domain. Not a fantasy of perfection, but a truthful, attainable standard of excellence for who you are right now. Hold that vision firmly. What is the one thing, the primary obstacle, that is currently stopping you from reaching for it? Is it a fear of judgment, a habit of procrastination, or a story you tell yourself about not being good enough? Naming that barrier is the first and most critical step toward dismantling it, reclaiming your potential, and honoring the work you are made for. Financial independence is a quiet form of freedom, while dependence on debt is a subtle form of slavery. This 18th marker, being financially prudent, is the Stoic practice of managing your resources with wisdom and foresight. It is an extension of self-reliance into the realm of money, recognizing that financial stability provides the peace of mind necessary to focus on your true purpose, the cultivation of virtue. The Stoics classified wealth as a preferred indifferent, meaning it is not good or bad in itself, but its use can be virtuous or vicious. Seneca wrote extensively on the dangers of craving money, warning that poverty adjusted to the law of nature is great wealth. He was not praising destitution, but highlighting the profound freedom that comes when your desires do not exceed your rational needs. To be a slave to debt, or to constantly crave more than you have, is to hand control of your inner state to external, unpredictable forces. It is to live in a state of quiet anxiety where a missed paycheck or an unexpected bill can feel like a catastrophe. This prudence is not about miserliness, but about conscious stewardship. It is the practice of creating and living by a simple budget, a map that tells your money where it should go instead of wondering where it went. It means distinguishing clearly between a genuine need and a fleeting want, and having the self-discipline to choose the former. It is the habit of saving a portion of your income for your future self, not as an act of fear, but as an act of responsibility. This financial buffer becomes your modern-day inner citadel, protecting you from the sieges of misfortune and giving you the freedom to make choices based on principle, not on panic. Think about the last time you made an impulsive purchase, drawn in by clever marketing or a temporary emotional state. The initial rush of acquisition quickly fades, often leaving behind a slight residue of regret and a cluttered space. Now contrast that with the feeling of making your final payment on a significant debt. That sensation of weightlessness, of a burden lifted, is a direct deposit into your account of self-respect. So I want you to take a quiet hour this week to review your spending from the last month. Look at your bank and credit card statements with the detached eye of a Stoic auditor. Do not judge, simply observe. Where did your money actually go? Identify just one single area, perhaps recurring subscriptions you never use, dining out that brought little real joy, or impulsive online shopping where you can consciously choose to be more prudent. That one small act of financial clarity is not just about saving money. It is a powerful declaration that you are the master of your resources and not the other way around. Your body is not a separate machine you inhabit, but the sacred vessel housing your soul and your capacity for reason. To neglect its care is a direct insult to the very essence of who you are, a compromise of the 19th marker of self-respect. The Stoics held the unity of mind and body as a fundamental truth. believing that a sound mind could not reliably exist without a sound body to support it. The teacher Musonius Rufus was unequivocal on this point, stating that physical training is essential for the soul, for the body's well-being directly supports the soul's virtuous activity. He saw the neglect of the body not as a minor failing, but as an active impediment to living a life of wisdom and justice. When you are sluggish from poor food, weak from lack of movement, or foggy from insufficient rest, your faculty of reason is compromised. You become a ship with a fouled hull, unable to sail straight no matter how skilled the captain at the helm. This respect manifests in the quiet, daily choices that others never see. It is the decision to prepare a simple, nourishing meal with whole ingredients instead of reaching for the processed fast food that will leave you feeling heavy and depleted an hour later. It is the choice to take a 20-minute walk in the fresh air, moving your body and clearing your mind, rather than collapsing on the couch to scroll through a screen. These are not acts of vanity or obsessive health culture. They are fundamental disciplines of self-regard. Each healthy meal is a message of care to your physical vessel. Every step you take is a reaffirmation that this body is worthy of maintenance and strength. So I ask you to make a specific, tangible commitment to yourself right now. What is one small, consistent action you can take this week, starting tomorrow, that demonstrates a new level of respect for your body? Perhaps it is drinking a full glass of water first thing every morning, or ensuring you get to bed 30 minutes earlier to reclaim a full night's rest. Choose one thing and hold to it not as a punishment, but as a daily ritual of honoring the vessel that carries your soul through this world. The best revenge is to be unlike the man who injured you. These words from Marcus Aurelius cut to the heart of the 20th marker of self-respect, refusing to seek revenge. Revenge is not justice. It is a poison you prepare for another but end up drinking yourself. It is a passionate, chaotic reaction that chains your inner peace to the very person who wronged you, giving them a permanent residence in your mind. The Stoic path offers a radical alternative, the liberation that comes when you channel that energy not into harming another, but into perfecting your own character. To wish well for someone who has caused you pain is not an act of weakness or submission. It is the ultimate power move, a declaration that their actions have no dominion over your soul and that you will use the injury as fuel for your own moral growth. Consider the sting of a betrayal by a close friend. The desire for revenge can be a consuming fire, plotting ways to expose them or make them feel the same hurt. But every minute spent in that dark fantasy is a minute stolen from your own life, a piece of your peace offered as a sacrifice to their memory. The Stoic response is to consciously, deliberately wish them well in your own mind. You do not have to reconcile with them or pretend the injury did not happen. You simply release the burning coal of resentment you are holding, realizing it is your own hand that is being scorched. This act severs the invisible cord that binds you to their wrongdoing. The space that was once filled with plotting and anger is now free, cleared for you to build something better, to become a person of greater wisdom and compassion than you were before the injury occurred. So bring to mind that one person you quietly resent. Feel the weight of that old story in your chest. Now ask yourself this transformative question, not for their sake, but for your own. What would it feel like to simply drop that heavy burden and walk away, leaving it behind you forever? If you cannot bear to be alone with yourself, you are in poor company. This 21st marker of self-respect, valuing solitude, is the deliberate practice of seeking out quiet reflection and becoming a true friend to your own mind. For the Stoics, solitude was not loneliness, but a sacred workshop for the soul, the essential space where we converse with our highest self and examine the contents of our own character. It is where the noise of the world recedes and the voice of your inner judge can finally be heard with clarity. Seneca wrote powerfully about the need to retreat into oneself, advising that you must spend time on your own, converse with yourself, and be prepared for your own company. He understood that a person who flees from solitude is ultimately fleeing from a self they have not taken the time to know and accept. Solitude is the forge where self-knowledge is hammered out, away from the distorting mirrors of other people's opinions and expectations. The practical application of this is beautifully simple. It is the habit of taking a daily walk entirely alone, leaving your phone behind so that the only conversation is the one between your feet on the pavement and the thoughts in your head. It is the conscious choice to spend an evening in quiet reflection instead of filling the silence with another streaming show or social engagement. In these moments, you are not doing nothing. You are performing the vital maintenance of your inner world, untangling the knots of the day's events and realigning your priorities with your core values. This practice builds a profound and unshakable comfort within your own skin, a sense of self-sufficiency that means you never need to rely on external validation to feel whole. So here is a direct challenge for you, one that will cost you little time but may yield a profound shift in your self-awareness. Before this day is over, I want you to schedule just 15 minutes of uninterrupted solitude. Find a quiet room or simply sit on a park bench. Do not bring a phone, a book, or any other distraction. For those 15 minutes, just be with yourself. Do not fight your thoughts, simply observe them as they pass by like clouds in the sky. What do you notice when the world falls away and you are left alone with the person you have become? Wearing a mask for the world is an exhausting betrayal of your own soul. This 20-second marker, being authentic, is the courageous act of presenting your true self without the filters of pretense or the weight of a facade. Stoicism champions this not as a modern concept of self-expression, but as the fundamental expression of living in accordance with your own nature and reason. To be inauthentic is to live in a state of internal conflict, where your actions are at war with your own judgments. Epictetus addressed this with his typical piercing clarity, advising his students to not pretend to be a philosopher, but to be one. Let your actions and your character speak for the principles you claim to hold, rather than performing a role for an audience. The goal is not to announce your virtues, but to quietly embody them in every interaction. Consider the common scenario of a friend asking how you are during a difficult time. The automatic, socially safe response is to force a smile and say, "I am fine, everything is great," burying your true struggle under a layer of false cheer. The authentic and far more courageous response is to be vulnerably honest. You might say, I am actually having a tough week and I am struggling with a few things. This does not mean dumping every burden on them, but it does mean refusing to lie about the state of your own heart. In that moment of truth, you are not seeking pity, you are honoring your own reality. You are giving your friend the gift of your trust and giving yourself the profound relief of no longer performing. Every time you choose the mask, you reinforce the belief that the real you is not acceptable. Every time you choose authenticity, you affirm that your true self is worthy of being seen. So I want you to turn that gaze inward with gentle honesty. Where in your life are you currently wearing a mask? Is it at your job where you pretend to share enthusiasms you do not feel? Is it in a relationship where you hide certain interests or opinions for fear of judgment? Identify that one area. Now, what would a single, small step toward raw honesty look like in that space? Perhaps it is admitting a mistake you would normally hide, or sharing a genuine passion you have always been shy about. That one step, however slight, is a powerful act of coming home to yourself. A grateful heart is a content heart, while chronic discontent is a quiet form of self-disrespect. It signals a failure to recognize the value already present in your life, choosing instead to focus on an imagined lack. This 23rd marker, practicing gratitude, is the Stoic art of actively training your perception to see the good, however small, and in doing so, you build an unshakable foundation of inner wealth. The Stoics perfected this through a powerful mental exercise called negative visualization, where you periodically contemplate the loss of the people and things you hold dear. This is not a morbid practice but a profound one. By mentally removing what you have, you instantly restore its true value, shaking off the fog of entitlement that makes you take it for granted. You come to see everything from the roof over your head to the health in your body, not as a guaranteed possession, but as a temporary gift. Marcus Aurelius began his own day with this ritual of gratitude. In his private meditations, he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He would list the simple, fundamental goods he was thankful for, anchoring his mind in abundance before facing the day's challenges. The practical application of this is beautifully simple and transformative. It is the daily habit, lasting just a few minutes each morning or evening, of writing down 3 specific things you are grateful for. This is not about listing grand, abstract concepts, but concrete, tangible details. It could be the warmth of the sunlight on your skin during your walk, the taste of a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, or the sound of a loved one's laughter from the next room. This act of writing forces your mind to stop, to scan the landscape of your life, and to pinpoint the moments of grace that you would otherwise rush past. It is a deliberate recalibration of your attention, shifting it from what is missing to what is abundantly present. So I want you to pause right now and do this with me. Do not just think about it, speak the words aloud or write them down. What are 5 specific things you are genuinely grateful for at this very moment? They can be as simple as the chair supporting you or the quiet in the room. Name them one by one. Feel the shift in your inner atmosphere as you do, the subtle settling of your spirit into a state of contentment. That feeling is the sound of self-respect, acknowledging that your life, exactly as it is, already holds immense and undeniable value. What is the trace you will leave in the world when you are gone? This final marker of self-respect, leaving a positive legacy, is the ultimate expression of Stoic duty, the recognition that your life is not a solitary performance but a single thread woven into the larger tapestry of humanity. The Stoics believed we are born for the common good, and that our highest purpose is to contribute to the well-being of others. This is not about achieving fame or building monuments, but about the quiet, enduring impact of a life lived with virtue. Seneca captured this profound responsibility with a powerful image, advising that we should live as if we were always in the sight of others, and think as if someone could at any moment look into the inmost recesses of our heart. He was not speaking of a fear of judgment, but of a deep accountability to the human community. Your legacy is the sum total of your character in action, the ripple effect of your choices on everyone you touch. It is the mentor who takes an extra hour to guide a young colleague, not for credit, but because they remember the person who once did the same for them. It is the parent who models patience and integrity for their children, planting seeds of character that will grow for generations. It is the artist or the writer who creates something of genuine value, a piece of work that offers solace, insight, or beauty long after they are gone. It is the simple, unrecorded act of kindness shown to a stranger, a moment of grace that changes the trajectory of their day and perhaps their life. Your legacy is not a single grand gesture reserved for the future. It is the quality of your presence in every ordinary moment. So as we reach the end of these 24 markers, I leave you with this final, practical question. What is one conscious action you can take this very week, no matter how small it may seem, that will intentionally add a thread of goodness to that larger tapestry? It could be a note of heartfelt encouragement to a friend who is struggling, a few hours volunteered for a cause you believe in, or simply a promise to listen more and speak less in your next conversation. That one deliberate act is how you begin building a legacy worthy of the self-respect you have worked so hard to earn. These 24 markers are not a checklist, but the stones of your inner citadel. Together, they form a complete Stoic framework for building a self-respect that no external storm can topple. This is not about following a rigid set of external rules, but about making a profound internal commitment to live a life of virtue, a life that flourishes from the inside out. Compromising on any single one of these markers creates a hairline fracture in your foundation, a subtle but certain path toward inner turmoil and the quiet agony of self-betrayal. Your peace is the ultimate prize, and it is won or lost in these daily choices. The Stoic teacher Epictetus left us with a final, piercing command, reminding us that above all else, you must guard your own character, for it is the only possession that is truly and irrevocably yours. This is the heart of the matter. Everything else, every possession, every title, every relationship exists outside your complete control. Your character is your sovereign territory. So as we conclude this journey, I leave you with a simple, powerful question to carry into your week. Which one of these 24 markers will you choose to strengthen first? Perhaps it is the courage to speak your truth, the discipline to protect your time, or the profound act of forgiving an old mistake. Select just one and make it your quiet focus. I would be honored to hear which marker resonated most deeply with you. Share your choice in the comments below, and if you found this Stoic wisdom valuable, subscribe for more guidance on building a life of unshakable integrity and